Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly show of What is School For, episode 31. And this is a sister show of Classroom Without Walls. On this show, I interview students, traditional students, non-traditional students, parents, educators, professionals, entrepreneurs, business owners, and they come here, we discuss, debate, and disrupt education. The goal is to really future-proof the next generation. And today we are having a next generation on the show and to talk about his journey as a homeschooler and coming from a traditional educational background to get to where he is today. So join me live is my guest of honor, Tray-Sean Ben Salmi. Join us live from the United Kingdom. Really honored. And for those of you who don't know who is Tray-Sean yet and what I'm about to share with you will disrupt everything you know about teenagers, 15 years old children. Because Tray-Sean is not your average 15-year-old young boy. And he is an Amazon #1 best-selling author and has been voted as the smartest teens featured in Child Genius. And so impressive. He's also an award-winning public speaker and a podcaster. I had the great honor to be on Tray-Sean's podcast, had a great time. And also, Tray-Sean is a stock and shares trader and a property mentor and investor, and so much more to this young gentleman, what he does and how many lives he's changing others and how inspirational he is. So really honored to have him on the show and share his journey from coming from the traditional background to become a homeschooler and to become an Amazon best-selling author, hosting a podcast, and to get to where he is today. And so really honored and welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. I.
Of course. You want to add anything to my very brief introduction of how much you have accomplished?
Definitely. So yeah, as Dr. I said, my name is Tray-Sean Ben Salmi. I'm 15 years old, author, award-winning author, and Amazon #1 best-selling author, award-winning public speaker, coach, mentor, and just really passionate about teaching people of all ages one of the following three things: confidence, just financial education, and math. And it's just something I'm really passionate about.
Awesome. Yeah, we're going to get to know you a lot more. And we are live as your mom is here. Quite a few other friends are here. And Lucy Lenny is here. Thank you so much. We are live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Periscope, and on YouTube. So let me know in the comment section where you are joining us live from, social media-wise and geographically speaking. I love my global community. So let's dive in, get started. So Tray-Sean, as I introduced you earlier, I think you are actually the second 15-year-old on my show, and you are just like so impressive. So I really want to unpack your background a little bit. And so in your LinkedIn bio, and you also mentioned that earlier, you are an Amazon #1 best-selling author. I think that is really amazing given how young you are. So share with us about your writing journey. I know you started your very first book when you were only seven years old. So share that story with us and what inspired you to write a book at such a young age.
Definitely. So sort of like the backing behind it was just by having my mum, because like from a young age we were always attending personal development events. So then by doing so, my mum then wrote her book first, and then me and my older sister, Tray-Sean Ben Salmi, we thought it sort of like helped us more, thinking if she can do it, then so can we. And then we decided to write our very first book when I was 7 and she was 11. And we co-authored it. It's called Kids That Dream Big, and it's just about essential tips, just making money doing what you love. And the sort of like how I became a #1 best-selling author was with my book that I co-authored with one of my business partners, Philip Chan, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. And it was about maths, and it's called 10 Seconds to Child Genius, where we incorporate all old and ancient techniques to help people solve complex equations under 10 seconds. And we managed to hit #1 bestseller in 2 hours and 11 minutes. So it's something we're really proud of. Yeah.
Wow. Like I before we went live, I said at some point I need to drop my microphone. I feel like I already need to drop my microphone right now. That is impressive. And it is almost so interesting to hear when you mentioned that you and your business partner. So like at which age did you have a business partner?
So I think like the very first one would be at the age of 12. And like I have like loads of different like mentors, coaches, business partners in different areas where we sort of like collaborate, share ideas. It just helps us to not only widen our vocabulary and just the way we think towards life, but it just helps with a number of things as well.
That's awesome. So which one is the book you mentioned earlier that about math? You collaborated. Yeah. Is it here? I assume it is here.
Yeah, so it was called 10 Seconds to Child Genius, and it's the first edition with myself and Philip Chan.
Okay, I'm going to share this. As you can see that there are quite a few books. I'm going to share this in the comment section. Those of you who are interested should definitely check it out, including myself. Yeah. So what are some other books that you write about? Topics.
Yeah, so there's different ones. There's ones on trading. There's another one upcoming on trading with my mentor, Yerjin Palian. There's ones on confidence, my story, and there's just a whole wide range of books. And the whole sort of like reason why I decided to write these books was just as a way to sort of talk to people in my age group, because sometimes they're not as open to learning people who are older. And if they see someone who's their age, who's achieving things which they might want to do the same, then it sort of encourages them even more to go out and then actually take action on those desires and dreams.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. So do you actually have young people who approach you and tell you like how much they felt inspired by your book and content?
Yeah, it's really amazing, especially when they're then able to utilize those teachings and actually get something from it.
Oh, wow. I think it's really interesting because, like talking about education, like even like including myself, like most people think that you have to have, for example, a certain degree to become a writer, a certain years of experience prior to call yourself an author. I love how your story is disrupting all those traditional notions that we have been holding to in terms of writing and becoming an author. So I want to ask you, if there is any, what were some like challenges that you have to overcome to start writing at 7 years old at such a young age, when most children at that age, I think they're only thinking about ice cream and the like games, this and that. So share that with us.
Definitely. So like from a young age, I've always been interested in like finding the problem and trying to solve it and just making money, and I've just been really interested in that. So that's something that, yes, I've really been interested in that. And then that, as a result of writing a book, I was then able to not only make money but also have an impact at the same time. So it was sort of like it was a win-win scenario really. So then that way I was then able to not only touch lives globally, but then also be able to share my message and hopefully inspire others to go and do the same. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that is so incredible. By the way, I shared the link to the book in the comment section, so everyone interested can check them out. So I'm curious, how long does it take for you to either write a solo authored book or a co-authored book?
So the fastest book that I've ever written with my business partner Philip Chan was the 10 Steps to Child Genius book, and it only took us 5 days.
What?
So it was from start to finish, because it was a very because we know the techniques, we know how to make it appeal to the reader and stuff like that. So it was a very sort of like straightforward and easy to make book. And yeah, so that would be one of the fastest books that we've made.
Wow, that's incredible. So here, I love this comment from my friend Phil. Thank you for joining us live. I feel the same way, right? You started writing a book when you were 7, and most 15 years old, they are definitely not thinking about that. So yeah. So definitely, thinking about, really concerned about their own academic performance. So how do you balance? You mentioned that you have only been homeschooled for about a year. So prior to that, you went to a traditional school. So how do you balance everything? I'm sure, like, you are not the work you are doing is not what is expected from your teacher. So how do you balance everything?
So just like when I was in school, it was fairly easy, and like I was always in like top sets, getting like good grades and stuff like that. So like I've never sort of like struggled academically. If anything, I've thrived, and it's definitely something that I like really am like fortunate to have, because I always love like things like revising and working, and so there's like it's never had an impact on my academics. So that's something that I was then able to take out of school and implement into homeschooling. But when we first transitioned, there was, I think, like for the first week or so, I was very like taken back, because like her mom had like said several times that she was going to take us out of school, but she never actually done it. And then eventually, when she did, because she had things in place, it was a huge shock to me. And like for the first week, I was a bit like losing motivation to study and things like that. But then, as a result of like just doing these other things, it then encouraged me to work on myself more, like just make sure that I have like at least a couple of hours a day just revising and just making sure that I'm able to stay on top of things.
Oh wow, interesting. So do you think you will ever, right now you are only 15, do you think you will ever go back to the traditional school, or you will continue on this homeschooling path?
Um, that's something that we've spoken about as a family many times, because like I've always loved schools that I've wanted to go back, but um, it's something that I like now out of school. I don't really miss it as much. But so for those of you who don't know, I've actually signed a scholarship with FirstPoint USA, and I'm supposed to be going to study in the States. So I would definitely be like going back into it when I'm like 18, around that sort of age. But from now until then, I don't think so.
Yeah, I love that. So share with us. Actually, that's one of my question. And clearly, quite a few opportunities have come to you, right? And congratulations on winning this like full scholarship to come and study in the United States. So how did opportunities like this come to you?
I think it's just about like having the right network, support network, just people to sort of guide you in the right direction and give you opportunities. Because like just like having like people around you, for example, like a family friend of mine and my personal trainer Ben Green, who's helped me to stay on top of my fitness, has then actually allowed me to be prepared to attend the tryouts at FirstPoint USA, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. So I think it's just about making sure that the people around you are then constantly supporting you and up leveling just where you show up.
That's incredible. Just like I like the conversation we have right now reminds me of the conversations that I'm having with other like entrepreneurs, but most of them are kind of my age. So it is really refreshing to hear this, from someone as young as you, 15 years old. So really encouraging to hear that. And talking about network, I want to kind of talk about social media a little bit. And most, I'm an advocate of building social media, digital presence, building a personal brand. And but I notice most students, most young children, they haven't yet fully embraced the social media as a way to network. But you are so exceptional. And I want to ask you, so since when did you start using social media as a way to network, like the way that most of us using
Yeah.
social media? So share that with us.
So I've always had like a social media account since I was 7, around that age. So it's something that my mom was then able to see the importance of it, because like we all know, she was able to see that eventually like CVs wouldn't be the way forward. It's about like who you know, who knows you, and things like that. And just having that online presence and being able to show that you're a credible person and that you are congruent across all areas is something that speaks a lot. It really does matter. So I think that's something that is really, really important, especially for people my age, because like I was talking to a friend about this not too long ago, and like just asked them like, how do you set up a LinkedIn account and things like that. And some of them they've never even heard of the platform, and it's an absolutely amazing platform which people to tap into.
Oh, it's incredible. So, how old were you? Do you remember when you actually started using LinkedIn?
So like I'd always there was an old app called Clout, and it was like a way to share a post across all different sort of like streams of social media. So initially I was then posting on Instagram and it'd go to everywhere. But I actually started like being like actually using LinkedIn a lot more when I was 13, 14. So that was when I really sort of like awakened to the importance of just having LinkedIn and how beneficial it can be.
Wow, that's interesting. Actually, you kind of inspired my son, and I always wanted to create a LinkedIn profile for him, but I never really take action. So like today, we actually created a LinkedIn profile for him,
Great.
so he can start practicing digital networking. I love it. Are you also on other social media platforms besides LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm across like all streams of social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube as well. So it's just everywhere just as soon as you type in my name really.
That's incredible. So how about your friends, your peers? How do they use social media? Were they like intrigued by you, or just like, oh my god, you're just like crazy?
Yeah, definitely like loads of my friends, they've been like really intrigued and just really astonished by how much I was then able to achieve. And it then sort of awakens them as to how important just having like different streams of social media is, just the importance of it, and also being able to pitch the same message across all of them, because some people they tend to like have this like crazy business persona on LinkedIn, but then when it comes to Instagram, it's all fun and games. So I'm not saying that there's anything matter with it, but I'm just saying that you need to sort of like be pitching the same message across all streams of social media, really. So I think that's something that like a lot of my friends, they've definitely seen the importance of it, and a couple of them are actually going to be setting up their very own LinkedIn accounts.
That's awesome. You can be their coach, I'm sure. And
Definitely.
so, yeah, so here's a question from a parent. And so I think he was asking, here's the question. So, how can children and young people discover and stay motivated, discover and be driven in their own interest? I mean, this is a question that I got asked a lot. And first of all, many children and even older, high school, college age students that I work with, they don't know what they want in life. Even right now, I don't know what I'm interested in. I have no idea. So that is our first question for you. And how do you discover your passion, your interest? And the second question is, once you discover that, how do you stay motivated? Intrinsically coming from yourself, not because mommy asked me, daddy asked me, or I'm going to earn an A, or anything like that, but like internal motivation. So yeah, so share with us, how did you discover that passion, that interest? Yeah.
So I think one of the sort of like biggest things that inspired me was just by having like my mom and older sister to look up to, or just having a role model who you may like certain traits that they have, and then that way you can then aspire to constantly better yourself every day. And just by finding something that you're passionate about, it's just something that will then keep you motivated throughout the whole time. Because like let's say you're doing something just because like there's loads of money invested in that, or loads of views or stuff like that, then eventually it's going to get to the point where you can no longer show up in the way you did at the start because you don't have that true passion for it. So, for example, like I'm not sure, but like when like gaming was pick up and things like that, I was thinking, oh, I'll give it a go. And I started like uploading like crazy and stuff like that. But then it got to the point where I was thinking, yeah, I like it, but only to an extent. So it's about like being able to differ between whether it's a hobby or a passion of yours, and just by like setting up something around your passion, it then encourages others to not only follow the journey but also actually invest in you, because they can see that it's something that is really dear and close to your heart. And one like exercise that I would just like encourage people to do is just like actually having maybe like 5-10 minutes first thing in the morning, and just like sort of like reflecting as to what you want to get out of the day, or maybe you may even do it just before a call, just thinking like, what do I want to get out of this really.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So share with us. First, here's a question from my 8 years old. And so I actually have a similar question around role model. So how do you decide who is going to be your role model? And I want to ask you, who are yours?
Definitely. So for the first question about like how to decide who should be a role model, it's just about having someone who maybe like a couple of steps ahead of you, because in that way you're then able to look up and they're in sort of like the same arena that you want to be in, and in that way you're then able to magpie a couple of their ideas and then add your own take of things to personalize it to how you want to show up. So it's just about having, like, for example, like how I said I'm passionate about football. I look up to people like Ronaldo because like I just love the way that he plays the game and how he's able to get out of tricky scenarios. So it's just about having people who are like either at the top or somewhere where you desire to be, because then you're then able to look at the way that they not only hold themselves and represent themselves, but then also just the way that they show up. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I so agree. And I'm also an advocate for that. And what you just mentioned reminds me of my interview with Seth Godin. He actually talked about this, right? Like sometimes maybe it is very expensive to invest in a coach or mentor, but there are so many heroes out there. So what we can do is to study those heroes and copy from them and learn from them and just like emulate them, right? And then you can transcend that. So I love that. Yeah, I love that. That's such a great tip. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, if you have, I'm trying to keep up with comments here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. We're talking about homeschooling education and the Tray-Sean's journey to entrepreneurship and success. So I know kind of right now we're talking about networking, social media. You also have a podcast. So how long have you been hosting that podcast? And so share that with us. What's the podcast about?
Definitely, thank you. So I've been hosting it for, I would say, around a month now, and it's called the Influencer Show, and it's just a simple way to encourage my peers both locally and globally to take action on their dreams, but and desires by having like different inspirational people on there, just like yourself, Dr. I, where they are then able to share their message and encourage people of all different ages to actually go out and take action on their dreams and goals. And it's been an absolutely amazing. I really do enjoy it, and it's something that I really do look forward to seeing where it goes. And there's a number of amazing interviews that I'm going to be releasing soon.
Wow, that's really awesome. So what inspired you to start a podcast?
So initially I had the thought of doing it a long, long time ago, but I was very, very camera shy, and I was thinking about like
We couldn't tell. If you didn't tell us, we couldn't tell.
yeah. So initially I wanted to just like have a picture and my voice in the background, but I know that it'd be like very weird, so I had to get over it. And it was something that was a huge breakthrough for me, and that way I was then able to share my message as well as sharing others. And there's, I think, like the whole reason why I started it was just to get over the fear and just share my message with the world, really.
Amen. And my personal slogan is the best way to overcome our fear is actually to work on that fear. Taking whatever you are afraid of, take action. Like that's what I share with my own children. If they say I don't like this or I'm afraid of doing this, and then I will say that's exactly why you are going to do this. Right? Otherwise, how can you overcome our own fear? Like for me, I think we all have that, being camera shy, because it is so different talking to a camera, hosting a live streaming show. But the only way for us to overcome that is actually to work on this on a daily basis slowly. So I'm really proud of you. And you have interviewed, even though you have just started this podcast, you have already interviewed some impressive people. Like, for example, you interviewed Oprah's, one of her certified trainer or teacher. So how did that happen? Share that with us.
Yeah, it was an absolutely amazing interview with Gordana. It was I really did enjoy it. There were there was actually a couple of breakthroughs that I had as a result of interviewing her. Like, I was then able to break through some limiting beliefs and barriers, and it was an absolutely amazing interview. Like, we were talking about things like just being able to own your space and being able to actually being able to know the difference between ignorance and confidence and different things like that. So it was an absolutely amazing interview.
Yeah. So did you just like reach out to her as a LinkedIn connection? Like, is that a cold messaging that you did, or you actually had some other friends who did a introduction?
So my mom and older sister, they got to spend the day with her. I think it was a year ago, and they've like kept in touch since then. And then I just reached out to her, and I thought that it'd be something really amazing. Yeah,
That's great. And I want to ask you, because like many students that I work with, they are like, I think we can all share with that, like, camera shy, but also sometimes when you reach out to a stranger and you have that uncomfortable feeling. So how do you overcome that? Do you ever feel like, oh, I'm just a kid and this person is so accomplished? Who am I to talk to this person? Do you have anything like that type of like internal struggle before you reach out to all those like professionals to be on your show?
Yeah, definitely. Like, there's a number of different people who I've like reached out to, and then I think like, oh my gosh, they're gonna reply and things like that. And then one of the sort of like funny things is when I either like tell my grandma or mum, they're like, no, it's fine, go on, Trey, and things like that. But it's just about like having the people around you just to encourage you. And like, if like any of you guys are going through sort of like something like that, it's just about simply being able to understand that, yeah, what the person is doing is amazing, but you never know. They may have gone through something that may be similar to what you're going through now, and then they're then able to share some insights that can then help you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So yeah, I'm hearing someone's, work on your fear. That's exactly, even now, I think Phil was talking about public speaking. That is something that everyone, yes, public speaking, we're all afraid of. Like for me, everyone, I'm an extrovert, just in case you couldn't tell. I love talking, but still talking to the camera, it is quite different. And every time my husband knows this, before I go live, I will do some power gesture, like you can do this. That fear will never go away. Again, to borrow a line from Seth Godin, you need to learn to dance with our fears. In your life, I share this with my children all the time. If everything you do in your life, you feel like I can do this, then you are not really challenging yourself, right? So I love that. That's how we grow. Work our fears, being outside of our comfort zone. So I see this comment from Lucileni regarding LinkedIn profile. So I think you do have to have. Do you know this, Trisha? The minimum age?
I'm not sure the minimum age, but like what I did was I either would like use my mom's account until I was old enough, or yeah, so that was pretty much what I do, and then that way I've been able to reach out to loads of different people and just letting them know like, hey, it's Tray-Sean, not my mom instead. And yes, I'm not too sure around the minimum age now.
Yeah, so in our case, I created one for my son, but we lied about his age because he's too young. He's only 8 years old. If we are using his real birthday, we couldn't create a LinkedIn profile for him. So we actually used my birthday, but his real name, he's taking care of the content. And also he's actually using like Canva, different graphic design tools to design his like cover picture here. It's actually quite fun to see him like learning, figure different things out. Yeah. So how many episodes are you thinking? How long do you want to host your podcast?
It's something that I'd never want to stop, because I'm just like really passionate about it, and I think it's something that is really amazing, because like I've had like loads of different comments, and people just replying of like how much of an influence like different people have then made on them. So it's something that I don't think I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And doing podcast interviews is such a great way to practice interview skills, collaboration, communication, so on and so forth. I love it. So I kind of now want to transition to talk about education a little bit. You mentioned that you were a traditional student for quite some time, and also like homeschooling right now. So I want to ask you, what do you love the most about being a homeschooler?
I think that sort of like being a homeschooler, you're then able to dictate your own routine, because like in school we have like set periods,
Mhm.
and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's something that I then cherish, because like at home you're then able to sort of like, I might know that I'm doing better in maths, so I need to work more on the science, because then I'm then able to allocate more time to it. So I think that by being homeschooled, you then have more flexibility to work more on your weaknesses as well as your strengths. So it's something that I really, really do just see like there's a huge bonus in that. And by like being homeschooled, you then are sort of it then helps you develop more of a responsibility, because you know that there's no like at times there may be no one that's going to be checking up on you. So then it sort of helps you reinstall that responsibility to make sure that you're then getting the things done.
Yeah, I love that. So share a day in your homeschooling life with us. I don't know if you have a typical day. If not, like maybe you can talk about yesterday or today. So I'm curious to see if you have any routine, how you arrange your day.
Definitely. So, also like when I wake up, I do sort of like a short circuit, and it's like a short workout circuit where I do 30 push-ups, 30 squats, 30 heel raises, and 30 sit-ups, just as a way to sort of like get me ready for the day. And then after that, I usually have, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 calls that I do in a day, and then um, I usually do 1 hour of each key subject, so math, science, English, and then I then have some time to then work on either some new ideas or some new upcoming things that I may have, such as like my book and different things like that. So that's definitely something that I then do. And then after doing the workout, I then do. I usually do like another short workout when I go to sleep. So I'm just keeping active as much as possible. And then I would say in a whole day, I usually spend like an hour on social media, but I try to keep that as small as possible, because then I can then allocate even more time to just like catching up on things really.
Wow, that's incredible. So how far in advance do you actually plan your day? Do you actually prior to go to sleep, for example, I plan out my next day, or like every month you plan out your month? Like how do you do that? Like how much planning do you do?
So I like to, I have like I plan quite far ahead. Like I have loads of different podcast interviews scheduled until I would say August. So there's I've definitely planned ahead in like the podcast interviews with like revision. I like to plan them just so that I then have a sort of like schedule to stick to. But there have been times I've had to either move things across or rearrange them, depending on like the scenario. But I think just like having a schedule, it then keeps you motivated and gives you something to look forward to every day.
Yeah, yeah. Do you find it is really interesting, right? So when you think about the traditional school environment and children go to school, they spend hours, right? Their entire day at school. And by the time they get home, there's additional homework, and they will have no time
Yeah.
left to pursue, podcast, this and that. So it is interesting. Like now you have a taste of this. So how much time do you actually spend doing like schoolwork? You know what I mean?
So I spend, I would say, 3 to 4 hours usually,
Hmm.
and it's just like it's nothing like crazy hectic and dense. It's just about like just make sure that I know like key terms and just taking like tests and stuff like that to sort of like make sure that I'm staying on top of things. And I usually one thing that I've actually set up with a couple of like close friends of mine was sort of like a Zoom call where we just have it for an hour and we just like revise together really, because like a couple of them they find it hard to revise by themselves. So I thought that it'd be a great idea for us to revise all together, because then it sort of takes away the revising, and it seems like you're sort of like in the school environment, because some of them, they miss it. So it's something that I was then able to do, and we are then able to interact with each other whilst learning.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not the first person who told me this. I think, school, like, we don't need that much time, doing the traditional, and we should maybe, like, last week I interviewed Esther Wojcicki. She's the godmother of Silicon Valley. So I asked her, what are some old practices in current educational system that need to be disrupted? Her very first response was that lectures are way, way, way too long. Like, teachers talk too much. So now, like, I think children are spending way too much time at school, and we should give them a lot of time to work on their dreams and passions and desires. Like Google, they actually have a 20% rule, meaning that they give their employees 20% like free time to work on their dreams, passions, whatever ideas. So I love that, like, now you have this time to work on things that you feel really passionate about and develop who you are as a holistic person. So that is good. So what are some challenges and like of homeschooling or being a homeschooler that you have to kind of overcome and learn to deal with?
So I think one of the sort of like first challenges that hit me was the social aspects in school, because every day you go to school, you see your friends, get to catch up, and there's like, you're constantly around them. But then being homeschooled, and while they're still in school, it's a lot more difficult. So it's something that was one of the first challenges, and we were then able to overcome that by like attending events together, doing things together, like having the Zoom calls, like how I spoke about, and things like that, just to sort of like not lose the social aspect. And another thing was like how I said about how structured school is. Like, as soon as the bell rings, you know what your next lesson is. But at school, at home, you're then able to dictate what you choose to do next. So it was definitely something that sort of like, it sort of like shocked me, but I was then actually excited at the same time, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, I get to choose what's next. But I was thinking, I was really excited, because then I got to learn and study on the things that I'm like, maybe I might find that I'm not as strong at. So like business is something that really excites me. So then I was then able to work on that a lot more, and as a result, it was then able to have a positive impact on the way that I show up. Really, yeah.
Amen. I mean, like, design thinking, right? So, like, I have so much to say about this, because I taught in the classroom for 10 plus years, and I see a very clear effect of being in that structured environment and how that is affecting our children's ability to design their own life, to engage in self-directed learning, because throughout their entire life, everything is planned out for them. Without their involvement, everything is planned for them. By first grade, at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you do this, this, and that. So by the time they get to college, if you give them a freedom, autonomy, they're like, I don't know what to do. Right? Like, so much. Like, again, last week, Esther Wojcicki, she mentioned, if she gives her students like an assignment, like just to write whatever you want to write about, students have the hardest time, because they are craving for instructions. So from what I'm hearing from you, Tray-Sean, is that you don't need that. You are really good at practicing self-directed learning. You are dictating, you are designing your own learning journey, your own learning career. That is what I love the most about homeschooling. So thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Imagine, when you are into the real life, into the real world environment, you have this ability. You are not afraid of, oh my God, there's no structure. There's no 5-year curriculum. There's no 4-year curriculum that help me design my life. And you're like, I know what you do. So like, I really love that. Yeah. So talk to us more about the social atmosphere. And clearly you are probably very different from many of your friends and who are still kind of traditional students. So how do you navigate that, social dynamic? I'm sure you are working on things they are not interested in or they are not working on. And so how do you kind of like navigate that space and maintain like a healthy social relationship with your friends?
Yeah, definitely. So like one of the things that like excites all of them is just making money. So I was then able to not only collaborate with some of them, but some of them were then able to help me out, like share my message to more people and things like that. So I know how to appeal to different people in different areas. So I think one of the like biggest things that had a positive impact on me was just being able to have supportive friends who were like really interested in what I did and were actually very eager to take part. For example, like one of my friends named Saad, my very first event that I held at Arsenal when I was 12, he actually attended the event for the whole day, was like, hey bro, how can I help out, things like that. So it's definitely really important just having those supportive friends around you who are constantly just trying to better your life, and then you can then do the same for them. And I think that like not all of them were like able to react in this positive way, because some of them, it was a huge shock for them, they didn't quite understand it. So it was definitely something that was really really new to them.
Mm.
When I was then able to like just show them what I do, why I do it, the impact that it's having on people, then they were then able to sort of like ease into it. They actually started to find it a lot more fun, engaging. Like there was a point, it actually got to a point where I had like loads of different people thinking like, how can I help you? Oh, can I share this with them? Is that okay with you? And things like that. So it's definitely about having the right people around you again.
Yeah, I agree. I think oftentimes, like children, they don't even know what are the options out there, right? They think that in a very linear fashion, at least many children that I work with, right? Like primary school, middle school, middle school, no, primary school, like middle school, high school, and college, and then I start my life. So I think that is a really old and traditional way of thinking. So maybe that worked a few years ago. So you and people like you are showing others examples. That is only one way to succeed in life. There are many different ways, right? And now the beauty of social media and technology is we can do so much, right? There are so many ways to learn. Information is everywhere, right? Why do you take a class from a school if you can take a class from any actually the real person practices, for example, business and marketing, right? You have a mentor and coach that way. So I love that. Yeah, I'm sure you have inspired many of your friends a lot. Do you actually build like collaborate in terms of business development with any of your classmates? Do you actually do that?
Definitely. And I think that's definitely like one of the amazing things, because like as a result of having those supporting friends, I was then able to, as you said, collaborate with a couple of them, do a couple of like cool things with them. For example, like the friend who I spoke about before, we were then able to attend like an SD experience day, and it was like a collaboration with Sports Direct and Nike. And it was just a super fun day where we did like loads of active exercises, got to partake in cool activities, and like he really loved it. So it's just about like having that sort of like friendship where you're then able to connect on so many different levels.
Yeah, I want to ask you. I see that Lucy Lenny asking a question. I think related. I missed the question. Sorry, asking you like what are some like challenges or that you are learning to overcome right now?
um I think one of the sort of like biggest challenges initially as a result of like the whole like lockdown was because like we used to do a lot of learning outside, like we attend things like Brunel University, and loads of other things, and we get to actually like meet the experts. But as a result of this, we were then confined to our home, so it's definitely sort of like an opened our eyes as to different loads of different ways to learn. So it's definitely something that has actually helped us for the better, because like if this was to happen like at a later time, it could have had a bigger effect on like the way that we were then able to study, revise, etc. But then this, if anything, has actually then helped us to stay prepared.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, thanks for it's my husband in the control room. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So we are talking about like big dreams, and that's actually your very first book, right? Children or kids dream big.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what are some of your big dreams, right? Do you plan out like a year, right? Like 2020 and 5 years? Like how do you do the your entire goal setting?
Definitely. So like many different people have asked me that question actually about like what do I think of in 5 years, 10 years, etc. But one thing that I've actually like struggled with is actually thinking so far ahead. Like I know what I want to do vague. Like I'm really passionate about football. I aim to become a professional footballer. Like as you said, I do trading. That's something that I'm also really passionate about. So I think it's just about being able to then incorporate them into one big vision. And I think the sort of like one of the many end goals I've actually won is just being able to set up in less fortunate places and then teach them things like financial education, life skills, the importance of like loads of different things, then actually give them some hope as to like, yes, school's amazing, it serves a purpose, but there's also this other road, other avenue that you can then go down if you choose to.
I mean, like, education is something that I'm so passionate about. I talk with people about education all the time. It is very interesting. I see that we have quite a few parents joining us live right now. It is not uncommon for me to have a conversation with a person who looks amazing on resume, right? Like I'm talking about, Stanford, Yale, Harvard, like amazing educational background, but they have no idea what they want to do with their life. Just like perpetual student. On the other hand, I have also talked with people like Tray-Sean and some of my friends, they dropped out of college at a very young age. Not only are they having a very successful life, but also I think the best part is that they know who they are. They know what they want in life. And so I just love how you are thinking about your life in a few years. Clearly, you know what you want in life. You know this is something that I'm really good at, and those are the things that I'm not so good at. And I think to me, that is a very important step to have a purpose-driven life instead of having our life being designed by a curriculum, right? So your life is being designed by you as a kid, as a person, instead of driven by a standard and rigid curriculum that is applied to children all across the board. So I love that. Yeah. And I think stories like yours can really inspire parents to think very differently. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, actually, speaking of which, I want to share this. And so as I'm trying to find this, I want to show everyone this chart. So share with us, where can people learn more about you, connect with you, and share your specific social media handle. I have Twitter here, so you can share others.
Definitely. Yes, I'm all over places like Facebook, as you said, Twitter, LinkedIn. It's simply my name, Tray-Sean Ben Salmi. And for Instagram, it's just author and then my name, Tray-Sean Ben Salmi. Yeah.
Okay, so awesome. Thanks for sharing. So I want to share this screen, and this is something that I use with my own children. I don't know if you're already familiar with this, Tray-Sean, but I love this, right? So listening to what you are talking about reminds me of Ikigai. Anyway, however it is pronounced, it is a very popular Japanese concept. And so I think, to me, it seems like you are working in here. So what this explains that, we do what we love, but also we understand what we are so good at. But at the same time, right, what we are so good at, people are willing to pay for it. And, the society actually needs this. So I think as a parent, it's not so much about teaching our children the specific knowledge because they can easily Google that, but actually help them to discover this sweet spot. And I just love how everything you mentioned, I love this, I'm good at this. And, people are interested. Eventually, you can test the market to see if people are interested in paying for it. And then that is, then you will have a pretty good life. Yeah. So I see that we only have a few minutes left. I want to ask you to share because you're so good at math. And I grew up in China, which is a very different environment than in the United States. So like many of my friends, and we are pretty good at math. I don't even know good. It's just like something we don't really think about it. I don't really enjoy doing it, but it is something in our curriculum on an hourly basis. And then coming to the US, I hear this phrase a lot. Oh no, I don't like math. It's not good. This like people have so much fear. And that was really interesting for me to observe because that is not the discourse that I have grown up with. But you're so good at this. You have your own unique system. And I wonder if you can share some tips, some strategies to inspire other parents if they want to share with their children and inspire other students to be good at math and to learn this and understand this is actually a very important life skill.
Definitely, yeah. So as I said, like the whole sort of like maths that I do is again with my business partner Philip Chan, and we are actually going to be releasing a course, and it's going to be called the 10 Genius Workbook, where we have a course of videos and there's actual work that you can hold, and that way we then teach. It's very short thing because we think it's about working smart as opposed to working hard, because like if you work really hard but it's not even in the right direction, then it's not going to actually make a difference. So it's about working smart and then doing so consistently that has a big effect in the long run. And we teach like a load of different like tricks. For example, there's actually this one trick which is about like multiplying squaring numbers ending in 5. For example, let's say you have 35 squared. So first of all that we say is you do 5 times 5, which is 25. So those are the last two numbers. And then because we have 20, because we're doing 25 squared, it's something that's very simple. So all we do is we do 2 times 3, which equals 6. And then that would basically equal the answer, 625. And that's something that there's like loads of different tricks that we then incorporate into our workbook and course. So it's something that I've always been passionate about from a young age, and it's something that I just want to teach other people the importance of it. And yeah, that's it really.
That's awesome. I can't wait to check it out. So my son is already a super fan. I'll share this. Yeah, it's the best interview. So
Thank
that's
you.
good. Yeah, I can't wait to learn more about that from you. And I mean, it is a very important skill. And even for him selling stuff on eBay, and for me to run my business for cooking, right? You will need to
Yeah.
understand certain elements of like math, things like that. Anyway, so share with us what are some of, besides your own, what are some of your favorite books, and what are some of your favorite online learning platforms that you engage in lifelong education?
Yeah, definitely. So like one of many books that I love to read is things like Think and Grow Rich, The Rich Man in Babylon, As a Man Thinketh, and there's a long range of books that I just love to read just to not only better my understanding, better my vocabulary, and also have a positive impact on the way I look at life, but just change me. And one of like the many things that I just love to do is like having different sort of like things that I do on a regular basis, because like if we keep on doing the same thing, then eventually it gets to a point where we it's sort of like normalized, and it's something that we actually, yes, we look forward to it, but only to a certain extent. So sometimes either like change the way you do it, or just adding something with it, because then it actually keeps us even more motivated. Because like for example, how I spoke about at the start of the interview about like workouts that I do, like initially when I first started I was getting tired of it and doing it all the time, but I then started to switch the way that I do it, the routine, either add a thing or take a thing out, and then it also keeps you sort of like guessing as to like what am I going to do today.
I love that. Yeah, I'm just reading everyone's comments. Everyone loves you. So it's such a great interview. Yeah, yeah, and it's really interesting. Like some of the books that you mentioned that I also read. They talk a lot about personal development, right? And you really like. At least I wonder. I think about this a lot. Working on the self, engage in personal development It is so important, and I think this is a big missing piece in the traditional educational curriculum. Like
Exactly.
they don't talk. Would you agree with me?
Definitely, and I think that's something that is definitely really important because if you like look at the whole sort of like just education as a whole, it hasn't evolved in so hundreds of years. But if you look at technology, it has evolved. So if you want to sort of have the same effect that it did back then you need to change something.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like at my own school, mindset is a big core part of what we teach,
Mm.
and you just need to, learn how to rewire our brain. Like positive affirmations. And do you do visualization or no?
Yeah, no, I do. I think it's something that's really important. Like when I first started it, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is crazy because it didn't make sense to me at the time. But like seeing its importance now is something that has definitely awakened me too. Because like just doing like a visualization, it could be something like short, like a minute or something. Just being able to call in the things that you want to see more of and actually taking the action in the right direction, it's just absolutely amazing.
Totally. I do visualization. I also do journaling. So
Mhm.
when things
I
I
do that.
do journal, I see if something already happened. So last year, or a few years ago, I happened to watch an interview with this guy. And so in the interview, so this is an article on Forbes that came up last year. So Patrick, he shared how he journaled his way to become a millionaire. Incredible. To me, that really shows the power of our mind. So he just wrote on a piece of paper, I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm creating impact. I'm creating income. And I don't know. And so incredible, right? So I think,
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah, I share with my own children. Everything happens twice. First happens in our mind. We have to see that and believe in that. And the second time we manifest that into our real life. So I love that. You are also into this type of thing. Great. So an hour has flown by. I am loving this conversation. So any parting piece of advice? So maybe what you want to say to the parents who are interested in raising successful children like you, and what is something you want to share with fellow students, young people like you, to keep them motivated?
Definitely. I think like just one the three things that I'd like to share is just making sure that you do something that's based around your passion because then that way you stay motivated. And also for the parents out there, if you guys want your kids to like get into similar things, then it's about not pushing them into it, but easing them, just talk to every now and then and just making it seem like it's their choice instead of actually saying like, yeah, you need to do this because then they're actually gonna resent it, but it's about finding things that they like to do. And there's this one quote that I like to leave you guys with, and it's either the day runs you or you run the day, and it's something that you guys can choose.
I love that. We want to design our life, we want to run our day. So, oh, I love it. Very good, very good. Thank you so much, my friend. And share with them again, where can they get a hold of you? Social media or email, whatever you want to share. So let me share your social media handle again. So that's on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, so as you can see, guys, there's the Twitter, and for LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, it's just my name, Tray-Sean Ben Salmi, and for Instagram, it's author, then Tray-Sean Ben Salmi. Yeah, thank you so much for
Awesome.
having me.
Yeah, of course. Truly honored. I loved today's conversation. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us live from all over the globe. And so I hope to see you guys again next Friday. And we actually have an amazing educator, long-term educator on the show to talk about play-based learning. So really excited. If you are into that type of learning, definitely come join us live next Friday. Same time, same location. And thank you so much again, Trisha.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.